It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of January 20th, 1995. Only 3 movies to look at today, so let's just get right to it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Christian Slater, Kevin Bacon, and Gary Oldman starring in the Alcatraz thriller, Murder in the First.
Sentenced to a punishment that didn't fit the crime, Henry Young spent 3 years in solitary in the most notorious prison in America.
Being sentenced for stealing $500 that's extenuating.
It was $5, not 500.
Until James Stamphill, a young public defender, was assigned to defend him.
How old are you?
Me, I'm 24.
I am too.
Now, an attorney and an inmate will find the most important friendship they'll ever know.
You are the one that is gonna die if I can't get some corroboration.
For a smart guy, you're awful slow. I'm already dead.
And ignite the most explosive case of their lives.
Being up against Alcatraz makes a whole lot of enemies.
Enemies like who?
I think you should withdraw from the case.
I want you to get up there and change my plea to guilty.
I thought you wanted to fight.
I just wanted a friend.
This administration is not going to allow some kind of a witch hunt in the Justice Department.
You don't know what it's like.
Well, what's like?
Alcatraz!
Warner Brothers proudly presents a motion picture inspired by the true story of two men
We're friends, huh?
There are some things worth fighting for.
who brought the darkest secret in America to light.
We'll fight these men so they will never be able to do this to anyone again.
Christian Slater,
Are you guilty of the murder of Rufus McKay?
Kevin Bacon,
I was a weapon, but I ain't no killer.
Gary Oldman,
I will not be treated the same way as this lying, murdering, two-time loser!
one broke the silence, the other broke the system.
I point to the associate warden, Mr. Glenn, the warden, Mr. Humpson, and the institution known as Alcatraz and say, I accuse Alcatraz of the torture of Henry Young.
Murder in the first.
You know, it's funny, when I watched this trailer for the first time and Christian Slater said he was 24 years old, my first thought was, you do not look like a 24-year-old, dude. You look like somebody in your 30s. But, and doing some research, it turns out when he was filming this movie, he was 25 years old, so he was kind of right on that front. So, shows you what I know. But, regardless of that, this is a movie that has things that should work about it. It has a really good cast to it, has a really good story about how Alcatraz was brought down, but it just kind of, but the problem is the movie kind of falls into a predictable courtroom thriller and not a very good one, despite the fact that the performances overall are very good, solid. I think they're doing a pretty good job of telling the story, but it just kind of falls into predictable territory. I mean, they take something that should be very interesting and just make it a subpar movie. Like, this is something that should have been a big Oscar contender, like something on the lines of maybe something like some of the great courtroom thrillers of all time, like movies like The Verdict or A Few Good Men, or even something on the lines of The Shawshank Redemption early on. But it just can't do that. Like, it just goes for a predictable storyline that just feels very generic. It feels very bland. Despite the good performances that are carrying it through a little bit, the movie overall just isn't all that exciting. I think the only things that I really liked about it were the performances by Christian Slater and Kevin Bacon. I think they were the two guys that were really keeping this movie together as close as they could, but everything else about the movie is just very forgettable. There's just nothing there. It's just a bland courtroom thriller. There's nothing really all that interesting about this friendship between these two guys that involved. Gary Oldman's screaming off the top of his lungs for no real reason, but it's just kind of a mediocre film. It's a film that just really feels like they were going for something a little bit more. It should have. Let me rephrase that. They should have been going for something a little bit more, but they just kind of take the safe route to it, and you can see why they dumped this in January, because even the studio realized, yeah, this isn't going to work at all. So, yeah, that's Murder in the First for you. So let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Ellen Barkin and Lawrence Fishburne in Bad Company.
You're Nelson Crowe, and used to be a secret agent man.
Enter a world of treachery and betrayal.
So what happened with you and the agents? Temper tantrum. Temper tantrums are good. Who'd you try and kill?
He's an aggressive, healthy, heterosexual male with a superior IQ of 141. And just a touch of paranoia.
I like a little paranoia. It keeps them careful.
In this company,
We are thriving, I assure you.
Doing whatever needs doing for a price. Does that give you pause, Mr. Crow?
it doesn't matter how good you are, only how bad you can be.
Find her and kill her. If you won't do it, I'll find somebody who will.
She's 36, single, and you call her Snow Queen. I'll be alone for the weekend at the cabin.
Like me to come along?
So what's our assignment?
Information's on a need-to-know basis.
I like details.
You want them now?
What kind of pitch did she make?
Small risk means small profit. Big risk. Big profit.
You've been busy.
Trust no one.
He's bad. He's awfully bad.
Use anyone.
What about Grimes?
Grimes goes.
Stop at nothing.
What about Crow?
Simple. We kill him.
When this starts,
Start pulling the trigger.
Ellen Barkin. Lawrence Fishburne.
you and I are forever. I decide when forever ends.
Bad company.
He is a nasty piece of work.
Isn't he, though?
I swear it felt like I was watching the same trailer again, but no, this is completely different. Like kind of like in what I thought of with Murder in the First with Christian Slater, they do the same thing here with this time with Ellen Barkin saying she's 36 years old and she was in her 40s when she made this movie. So yeah, that one's not going to work this time around. Despite the fact that I do like Ellen Barkin as an actress, I mean everybody in here is pretty good, is a really good actor and actress. Ellen Barkin, Lawrence Fishburne, Frank Langella, but yeah, this is not a very good movie. It's a pretty generic film that's trying to be this neo-noir type of thriller. That tries to be kind of an erotic thriller too at the same time, but it just, you can't really tell what direction it wants to go to. It's another one of those movies where you think you know what's going to happen, and when it is, and trying to pull the rug out of you, they do something that's very stupid, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You don't like any of these characters whatsoever. You don't like anything that they're doing. It's just a really poorly written script with some really bad characters despite being played by some great actors. It's a pretty lackluster film. It's another one of these movies that they dumped out there in January so that people could see it, thinking that they're going into something great, but they're not really. It's just a movie they dumped there because they knew it was going to be terrible and they had to put it somewhere. So there you go. This is where it has to be. So. And it also doesn't help that 7 years later they tried to do another movie with the same title with Anthony Hopkins and Chris Rock, much different, but yeah, it didn't have the same effect. But we'll get to that one in 2002. But that's Bad Company for you. So let's move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Stephen Dorff in S.F.W.
Want to shoot somebody?
Shoot me. Go ahead. You got the camera, you got the gun. Do it.
Check this out. The Madison Heights Farm-Stop crisis is over.
You think you're up to a press conference?
For 36 days, we watched the broadcast of the uncensored videotapes as the 5 hostages were transformed into national heroes.
For the folks back home, you ready to see my really photogenic side? Well, give it a go!
And overnight, Cliff Spab became the mouthpiece of a generation.
I like shopping so much. I've been in the same store for Christ knows how long. So, how does it feel to be famous?
It feels angry, man.
Who are you, Cliff Spab?
Man, I thought it was crazy in there. Here it's fucking insane.
Maybe even trying to explain what happened in that store is just pointless, you know?
What's Cliff Spab really like?
You met Cliff Spab at the Fun Stop. You and Cliff are very different people, aren't you?
People don't understand him. I mean, he wasn't trying to do anything.
It's showtime!
Mr. Spab is being sought for questioning.
You're nothing but a cow now.
Good luck being nobody.
Don't worry, guy, your 15 minutes are almost up.
Exactly what is it you were going against?
Well, that depends. What you got?
You've got a message.
What's my message?
Say it along with me. So, fucking what?
Your message is that there is no message.
It works wonders. I'd like to live forever, but only for a little while.
again, another movie that has some really good ideas to it. I mean, Stephen Dorff. You also see Reese Witherspoon there, who I thought early on was Alicia Silverstone, but as it went on, I realized that yeah, it's Reese Witherspoon, and it's written by Danny Rubin, the guy who did Groundhog Day, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So you would think there'd be a lot there to go on, but no, it's basically kind of a watered down mix of Natural Born Killers meets Ed TV, kind of. It doesn't go as extreme as Natural Born Killers does, or it doesn't play it as safe as Ed TV does, but those movies were far better. This is just a movie that just feels kind of pointless overall. Like, maybe if there was a point to it in the end, maybe it'd be worth it, but there really isn't. It's a movie that just feels very, very slow and doesn't really feel like it wants to accomplish anything. It's a pretty bland, mediocre film, and I expected a lot more with the talent that they have on here, but it just doesn't work. It's a movie that tries to be something satirical and clever, and it just can't do either one of them. It's a film that feels like that the people involved have gotten a much better script to work with. You don't like any of these characters whatsoever. It's another one of those movies where you look at the characters, and you would think with the people involved you'd like them a little bit more, but you just don't feel it. It just never feels like you want to get behind these people. They just feel like, why am I even hanging out with these people? It's just like that type of a movie, and yeah, it just didn't work. S.F.W, or as they call it, so fucking what? That's pretty much all I gotta say about this. That's probably a good explanation for this movie. So fucking what? So, with that said, that wraps up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll jump into the end of January 27th, with 4 movies, including the third installment in the Highlander series, The Final Dimension. We also have Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy in Richard Linklater's Before Sunrise, Miami Rhapsody, and also Tassal. I think I'm pronouncing that right. T-S-A-H-A-L. I think that's how I'm pronouncing it. Oh, there's another movie here, too. Death and the Maiden. So we'll have 5 movies to look at next time around. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.